Well, listen, I think you might need to save some of that for Chris Jones because he is in a battle right now with the Kansas City Chiefs. He says that he will sit out until week 8 of the NFL season to prove his point. We have some of the tweets up here. Basically, somebody put out here, so when added Chris Jones on Twitter and said, so when are you going to show up because you be playing too much on Twitter and social media? You've been all pro on social media during training camp. You're under contract for this year, correct? For how much money? Man, I bet it's rough to live on $20 million a year. And Chris Jones simply replied, week 8.
Yeah.
And somebody said via Arrowhead Live, which I'm guessing is a fan Twitter page, says, that's going to be a hefty tab. And Chris Jones replies, I can afford it.
Yeah.
Brandon, I mean, we're always talking about if you mean business, if you want something to happen, go ahead and stand 10 toes down. What do you think about this? Week 8, that's a long time. What's the money on that?
Yeah, so it's a lot of money on that. You know, we just had LT on, Love Vet Talk. One of the things that he said is every case is different when we were talking about the running back position. So I'm about all guys getting their money. I'm about guys pushing their brands forward. But in this case, right, if what he's asking for is true, then I think he is wrong. Okay. If he's asking for $30 million a year, then he's wrong, right? Because you have who sitting there? Aaron Donald is due to make 31. Now, quickly respond to this little tweet. Can he afford it? Yeah, he can afford it. He has one more year left on his deal, due to make $20 million. I do believe that he deserves a contract and an extension. The Chiefs believe he deserves a contract and an extension. They want to give him an extension. And Ashley, I don't know this. I'm not an insider, not that type of insider. I haven't talked to him. I haven't talked to anybody involved. So I don't know if what he's asking is true. But the reports out there is that he wants $30 million. That's right there by Aaron Donald. Remember, Aaron Donald went through the same thing, and Aaron Donald actually said, I'm going to retire if y'all don't pay me what I'm looking for. Aaron Donald wanted what? He wanted to be he wanted quarterback money. He's like, I'm the best player in the NFL right now. Give me my money. And my money needs to be up there with Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He had to do this whole little dance with them. And then he still fell short, and he got his $30 million. So now when you look at Aaron Donald and Chris Jones, Ashley, you got to go to what? You got to go to the work, the body of work. So in the first 7 years, that Chris Jones going to his 8th year, so what has he done? Dominated. He's a beast. He's one of the best in the business. Will he go down as one of the, greatest ever? Potentially, maybe top 15. I don't know. There's a lot of amazing defensive alignment out there. But right now in this era, he is one of the best. But through 7 years, he had 65 sacks. And Aaron Donald had how many? 85. So that's a huge margin right there. You know what I'm saying? That's all it's about. It's about production. Aaron Donald's a totally different human being. He's a totally different animal. He's a totally different player. You can't put yourself in that category. Same thing we were talking with LT when it came to Jim Brown. Like, Jim Brown's like, he's a running back, but like, let's take him out. Let's put him somewhere else. Like, what he did for the game and how he pushed it forward, like, no one would ever do that again. And so, like, that's my challenge, Ashley, with this situation. I want him paid. Right. I want him back in camp as soon as possible, right? Because they have an opportunity to be a dynasty. And they don't need him, but he makes it so much easier.
They don't
know, because you got Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
Patrick Mahomes went out there with who? At the wide receiver position. Oh, my goodness. Patrick Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill. And what did he do? He still found a way. Yep. So Chris Jones is like that. But Patrick Mahomes do not need Chris Jones to go back to back.
I got to push back on that a little bit. We're talking about right now.
Before I sage you.
4 years, $80 million. 4 years, $80 million is the current contract that he's on, right?
Yep.
Easily, I think nobody in this room can disagree with the fact that defensive-wise, top 10 in the NFL currently, right? I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, might be top 5.
Might be top 5 depending on who you ask. I'll do top 10 because everybody can go ahead and have their different lists. We're talking about a Kansas City team that, yes, offensively, gifted. Patrick Mahomes, when he's on your side, Travis Kelce, when he's on your side, you have no worries. But we're talking about a Kansas City team that won the Super Bowl. A lot of people will say this time on the strength of the what? The defense. Well, if the defense does not show up, the Kansas City Chiefs do not win the Super Bowl. Is that a fair assessment to make?
It was
despite Kansas.
You have an argument there. Patrick Mahomes, was just he wasn't amazing. He wasn't spectacular. Right. So it was a team effort.
This time around,
there's an argument there, Ashley.
So the defense does not do their job. They don't show up. There's a good chance that Kansas City's not hoisting that Lombardi. With that said, knowing that, looking around the league, especially in the AFC, you had the Jets, top 5 defense in the NFL. Yep. You have Kansas City, I would say not top 5, but they have a nice solid defense. A lot of the teams in the AFC defensively are gifted. Yep. Are you willing to play a game of chicken with one of your best defensive tackle, one of your probably your best defensive player, in order to not pay him? You're willing to say they don't need him. Yeah. I think that's far-fetched.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like Patrick Mahomes is just different. Andy Reid is just different. Will do me a quick favor before I respond to Ashley. Can you look at the last year they won the Super Bowl? What year was that? Please tell.
Kansas City?
Yeah, Kansas City.
2022.
No, before that.
Oh, before that?
Ashley, think about Bill Belichick was in the same situation. Richard Seymour was probably he was a top 10 defensive player. And listen, I'm just throwing that out there because I didn't do any work, so I can't Jason Taylor was there, Darrell Reed. There were so many guys that were around in that era, but Richard Seymour will be. I think he just made the Hall of Fame not too long ago, or he's going into the Hall. He will go into the Hall if he hasn't already. But that's another thing I need to fact check.
He is in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame. He gave him up. He went to the Oakland Raiders. Okay. Why did he do that? Because he had Tom Brady. So that's the blueprint. That's the easy answer. That's the best case I can give you is what Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes is what Tom Brady and Bill Belichick was. And it's the same blueprint. Yo, Tyreek Hill, don't need you. I got Patrick Mahomes. Yo, Chris Jones, don't need you. I got Patrick Mahomes.
I think Tyreek Hill, you can make more of an argument for than you can Chris Jones. Offensively, when you have Patrick Mahomes, you don't need much of anything. You need him to have 1 or 2 guys he can rely on. He is magic. He will make the rest happen. I can't push back on that. But we are talking defense. Yep. We are talking a part of the game that we have seen can either make or break the outcome of a game. We're talking about the dynasty that is the Kansas City Chiefs. If you were trying to remain a dynasty, why would you play around with your best defensive player? And again, he's not the only aspect of that defense. The defense as a whole has to go ahead and work together. But he is the best defensive. And what are you saving the money for? Patrick Mahomes.
No,
he already got paid.
No. He's about to get paid again. That's part of the reason too. We want to pay you, but we got to go redo this contract. Patrick Mahomes is grossly underpaid now that you saw Lamar Jackson go back to the table. Justin Herbert go back to the table.
He's not grossly underpaid for $500 million.
Jalen Hurts go. No, Ashley, I'm talking about the average per year. He gave him a team-friendly deal, a really good team-friendly deal. So really quickly here, Ashley, they do this. They're the experts. Like we study it. You're so funny. But think about this. They're willing to play chicken. Why? Because they can. And they obviously think like, man, we got Patrick Mahomes. What year did they go to the Super Bowl?
The year that they won was 2019.
So 2019, Ashley, okay, 2019. So last year, Chris Jones had 15.5 sacks. That's huge. It's a big deal. They won the Super Bowl. 2019, they won the Super Bowl. He had 9. You can make up that production. You can get 9. You can get 15. Defensive line, the committee. Hell, they may be able to go out there and trade for somebody. Maybe we don't even know. I haven't studied their roster, but they may have a young pup right there in their stable. They're like, yo, he can give us 8 or 9.
You would trust a young pup more than you trust a vet?
Well, no, but you got to think about the team holistically. It's not just about, okay, you talk about a dynasty. They got to win at least 2 more. So it's like, how do we get there? we can win this year, but paying Chris Jones, what is that going to do for us in 2025, 2026, 2027? You got to think those things through. I will say this, Ashley, last thing I have on this point.
Last point.
My last point is this. Because I do want Chris Jones to get paid. And, I always talk about the open market and, look, you don't have to be the best to get the best, right? Mm-hmm. We saw that even in basketball with Jaylen Brown, his deal that he got, right? I think he needs to wait until Bosa gets his deal. Bosa, San Francisco, he's not even in camp. We're not even talking about him.
This is Joey or
what's his? I don't know. I get them mixed up. Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Nicky is the 49ers. Nicky Bosa. So Nicky Bosa now, because he's a defensive end. These are defensive tackles. Aaron Donald's a defensive tackle getting his bread. Mm-hmm. Nicky Bosa's a defensive end. Totally different story. Nicky Bosa.
Or Nick. We're just calling him Nicky.
All right. Nick Bosa could potentially get that 30 or 31, that 32. He can get that. And that's why it's taking so long. Once he do that, then you can see a Chris Jones potentially, getting close to that number. And what I think the solution is here for Chris Jones and the Kansas City Chiefs is a short-term deal with a number close to that 30 mark potentially, but you got to be careful because you got to look at where we're going to be in 25, 26.
Well, we'll definitely keep our eyes on this story and see how long Chris Jones is willing to go ahead and play chicken. He says week 8, but timetables change. That's about, what is that, $20 million?
Well, no. It ain't gonna be $20 million.
Oh,
it's
maybe I exaggerated.
Well, he's getting fined. Yeah, I don't know.
It's $10 million.
Yeah, but so he's missing that, but he's also getting fined
so
for not being there.
15,
he's being fined.
You like 12, 13?
He said he can afford it.
I said 15 to be on the safe side, but that's a whole lot of cash. But hey, can we talk real quick before we move on to Reggie Bush? Can you talk about a flex when he said I can afford it? Like, damn, okay, talk to us nice. I respect it. Listen,
you can afford it, but look, we can afford a lot of things, but it may not be smart.
I'm gonna miss it though.
Yeah, right.
Just listen. I'm gonna prove a point. I'm gonna cry in the car though.